Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, we're going to jump right on into it. Welcome to my first episode breakdown for Obi Wan Kenobi Episode 1, Part 1, as it's been said on Disney+. I'm going to have a separate video, Episode 2, and its breakdown here later on the channel here as well, so hit the subscribe button so you guys don't miss that. I'm so overly excited to make this video. I've been waiting such a long damn time, honestly, guys. If you guys haven't already seen it, check out my reaction video. I posted it and uploaded it last night, directly right after watching the episodes, and I think it should go without saying, heads up, spoilers ahead. We're going to go ahead and jump right on into it. We're going to break this thing down frame by frame. Of course, we start out with an Order 66 scene. However, before that, we have essentially a recap of the prequel trilogy and Obi-Wan's history throughout the prequels and his old character and his different connections that he has with Qui-Gon and Anakin. I really enjoyed it, and it highlighted a few key points. I think that they really emphasized on Qui-Gon Jinn possibly making some type of Force ghost appearance within this show, as it's the last thing that Yoda says. However, I'll talk about that in a separate video. As I had mentioned, we started out with an Order 66 scene directly during the events of Revenge of the Sith, when two 501st clones rush in and start shooting at this Jedi Master and her younglings. And then, of course, she gets taken down by these clones. You can't fend them all off, and the younglings and these Padawans are left alone. One common theory I've heard out of there, of course, now at this point in time, is the youngling that we see there in the top left there very well could be Reva. And yes, I've been pronouncing Reva completely wrong these last couple of months that we've been talking about Obi Wan Kenobi. It's been Reva this entire time, and I've been saying Reva. I definitely think we're going to have some more Order 66 flashbacks. I think it's going to be something that's going to be continuing on throughout this rest of the show. 10 years later, we're on Tatooine, and Mos Eisley is what I'm assuming and pretty sure here, where the Grand Inquisitor, the third sister, Reva, and the fifth brother all make an appearance in search of a Jedi. Cut all the chatter, cut all the hate, whatever you want to call it, of course, here on any of the makeup and looks here on the Inquisitors. The Grand Inquisitor and the fifth brother look absolutely phenomenal. I was actually blown away by how cool these guys actually look when you actually give them a chance, I guess, on the screen here and through the show. Not just basically off of TV spots and trailers and that type of stuff. Especially the fifth brother. He really took me by surprise. I think that they did a really cool job with his voice effects there. The Grand Inquisitor, there's a lot to talk about and say with him, especially at the end of Episode 2. However, I'm going to hold off on that for our Episode 2 breakdown, and furthermore make a whole separate video on what's possibly going on with that whole thing with the Grand Inquisitor, how that plays in with Star Wars Rebels and the future of the Star Wars franchise as a whole as well. Reva as well is very, very cool looking, and honestly, she's really grown on me. Directly after watching this episode, I went to Star Wars Theory's live stream to hear what everybody else was kind of thinking about this. Of course, text a few of you over on our Instagram, unofficial Star Wars, link down in the description down below, and not many people were very, I guess, fans of her. I really enjoyed her. She really grew on me these last two episodes. I think she's really cool, actually, and totally a hothead, of course, and totally ahead of herself, and wants to get the job done with any means necessary, which is very cool to see. We even see that the Grand Inquisitor and her almost go toe-to-toe here as she tries to start killing this Jedi, of course, that isn't hiding, and start hitting him with the lightsaber and burning him there, but the Grand Inquisitor stops it with the Force. In case you don't know, the Inquisitors are Jedi hunters. Themselves actually used to be Jedi way back during the Republic era. They're still dark side Force users, but aren't necessarily classified as Sith Lords. Nonetheless, they're very cool. Ruber Friend really blew away, I guess, my whole reaction here with the Grand Inquisitor. He honestly blew me away. He was amazing. Honestly, he was terrifying, and he had that right tone and theme that we saw in Star Wars Rebels, despite him saying that he did not watch Star Wars Rebels in preparation for the role. As I had said, Reva uses any means by necessary, throwing a knife at the poor bartender in his side of the cantina here, and is stopped by the Force, a Force user. The Jedi has now revealed himself because it's like an itch, as the Grand Inquisitor says. They can't help it. They need to do the good thing. They need to help, and in this case, this is what he did. He stopped the knife from hitting this guy and revealed himself. Now he's on the run, and as I had mentioned, she's stopped by Reva, and by any means necessary, she slashes out her lightsaber in an effort to slice him down. She's stopped by the Grand Inquisitor using the Force, stopping the blade from hitting him, while it's only merely burning him, which is very, very painful. And just like that, Reva is forced away from him from the Grand Inquisitor, and he books it. He's gone. He's out. I'm a little bit confused, quite honestly, why they didn't just straight up kill this guy, and I guess to answer that question, of course, is in an effort to find any other Jedi that might be around. In this case, it's Obi Wan Kenobi that we know that they have been hunting down for the last 10 years. Yet, they still can't find him. Speaking of which, it's revealed that Obi Wan Kenobi is working on a meat type of, I guess, facility here. He's, in his own terms, trying to simply live a normal life and move on from the Clone Wars and his past life as a Jedi, essentially rebuilding his life from scratch here. You can tell that he wants to do good. He wants to stop this guy, his boss here, who's a real jerk to his workers, but yet he can't. He can't really bring it out in him. He can't reveal his force powers or his lightsaber or anything like that, which is very unfortunate. We see his daily routine essentially from going and working at this facility, this meat factory, to going back into town to grab his little space camel type of thing and head back to his cave. Now, he's not yet moved into his little hut that we see in A New Hope. However, seeing that whole transition is something I definitely think we'll be seeing throughout the rest of this show. Essentially the death of Obi Wan Kenobi and that transition into Ben Kenobi. This guy right here is a little bit important. He's essentially a security system. At first I thought it was R2. I don't really completely know why. He's probably off doing his own thing. If it's blue, that means that nobody has gone inside or anything like that, and when it's red, it means somebody's in there. I'm assuming that this is more or less used to warn Kenobi of any Inquisitors. It's also learned that Kenobi has befriended a Jawa. The whole comedic idea of this Jawas are always comedic, as we see in The Mandalorian and previously, and on pretty much any Star Wars, I guess, content out there, shows, movies, whatever the case may be, they've always been more, I guess, humorous, and many fans are torn up about that. Having any type of humor within this show just doesn't seem right, and it's something I'm going to talk about in a separate video because I'm torn on it as well, if it's something that is really necessary for this overall show. However, nonetheless, we do learn that Kenobi has befriended this Jawa, who have quite the relationship together, as this Jawa essentially steals stuff from Kenobi and then just like resells it to him, which is a little bit humorous, yes, I'll admit it. And he also shows Kenobi this old Jedi belt that he found, which reminds Kenobi of the old times, of course. This scene right here, this sets the entirety of the mood throughout the rest of the series and this show, this timeline, this whatever you want to call it. Where we're at in the Star Wars timeline with this show is Kenobi having these flashbacks and nightmares to the prequel trilogy and through the Clone Wars, his relationship with Anakin and Qui-Gon. Dude, this just hit me like a brick wall. Wow. I had absolute chills just talking about this, thinking about it. Wow. This was an amazing sequence of events here, this amazing scene right here, and on top of it, after he awakens from this nightmare, we see that he talks out to himself in an effort to reach out to Qui-Gon Jinn, his former master from The Phantom Menace. The whole theme of Qui-Gon Jinn making some type of potential appearance here within this show, it seems very, very positive. It seems like something that is very well going to happen here. Just a matter of when, where, and how is yet to be the question. It could be flashbacks, and it could be a Force Ghost sequence. I think it's going to be a little bit of both, to be completely honest with you guys. Mentioned Qui-Gon right here, and they also had mentioned him at the end of that recap from the prequel trilogy at the beginning of the show here, essentially the life of Obi-Wan, and at the end of it, we hear that Yoda, of course, has some training for Kenobi to do over on Tatooine regarding his former master and how to reach out to his former master as a Force Ghost. After this scene, we go on to see some of Kenobi's day-to-day activities, aside from working at the meat facility and going into town to grab his little space camel, make his way back home. He has to do a little bit of stalking with a young Luke Skywalker as he goes out to the Lars homestead, simply keeping watch over the boy and his family, making sure that they're safe and that they're well. However, Owen Lars seems to disagree, as we had already seen this official clip revealed here officially by Star Wars and Disney, which we had already covered here on the channel. It was very, very cool. And something else I should mention that I am absolutely in love with is the fact that all the TV spots and trailers that we had already revealed to us, those are all from the first 2 episodes, aside from like 1 or 2 scenes from when the Inquisitors are all having a meeting at this water planet that we saw from Jedi Fallen Order. He's kind of like Santa Claus leaving a bag of toys for a young Luke Skywalker. The same spaceship in this bag of toys here that we see in A New Hope, Luke Skywalker playing with. Either which way, he's eventually going to get the spaceship after this scene. We do see that Owen Lars throws this bag of toys back at him in the city. However, before we see that, we believe that Kenobi's about to be attacked by Tusken Raiders, the Sand People, as he's making his journey back to his home after watching Luke Skywalker and dropping off that bag of toys. And of course, it's not. It's that Jedi that we had seen before earlier on in the episode that was being hunted by the Inquisitors, and he's reaching out for help. He just doesn't know what to do. He's looking for some type of guidance from Obi Wan Kenobi, and Kenobi just kind of disregards him. He doesn't really I guess, play onto it. He plays him off, actually, if for anything. Which I do have to understand and respect furthermore on top of that, because Kenobi is trying to stay hidden, of course, as much as possible, and he does cave in, and he tells this guy to go off and live a normal life, forget about your past and everything like that type of thing. Unfortunately, this guy does meet his demise later on in the episode, which is very unfortunate, because he does have big potential. A young Princess Leia, as we seem to see in this scene, however not quite yet, is revealed to us in this show. For those of you that have been following leaks and rumors and that type of stuff here, is, well, yes, that's true. There, of course, were talks that a young Princess Leia would be playing some type of substantial role within this Obi Wan Kenobi show, and that's exactly what we see. She's literally just a Disney princess. She doesn't want to do anything princess-like. She'd rather go off and explore, as she had actually used her friend as a decoy, as we had seen at first, revealing that she likes to be in the woods and within nature and in the forest, something very heavily commonly themed in Return of the Jedi, in which she's hanging out on Endor with the Ewoks, of course. I'm going to say this once for all of you. If I catch any of you out there bullying this young actress, this little girl here, I'm coming for you, okay? It's not a threat, it's a promise, so don't do it. Okay, she did absolutely amazing. I'm in love with her acting performance. Was amazing. She portrayed a young Princess Leia so beautifully, especially in episode 2. Was quite amazing. A scene that we had already seen, as I had mentioned earlier on in the video, the interaction between Owen Lars and Obi Wan Kenobi. Owen Lars is telling Kenobi to, of course, leave him and his family alone. He doesn't want anything to do with him. It's very, I guess, conflicting. It's something I want to talk about in a separate video, as I had mentioned in my reaction video, because, well, the plan and the idea is that Kenobi would eventually take the boy to train as a Jedi, and, well, Owen Lars had kind of changed up those plans. He doesn't want anything to do with that. He's kind of disregarding it, which is very unfortunate. However, way too soon, directly after this interaction, we see some of the Inquisitors. Reva and the fifth brother come into town in search of any Jedi, Obi Wan Kenobi and the other guy, of course, that we had seen before. Reva is totally ruthless. Like, she has any means by necessary. She straight up cuts off this lady's hand, which really should set the theme of violence and that type of tone here throughout this entirety of the show, which was incredible to see. She begins to interrogate Owen Lars about knowing something about Obi Wan Kenobi, and deep down inside, we do eventually learn that she has it out for Kenobi. Like, she just despises and hates him. She is filled with so much hatred, and that just so consumed with it, is what I'm assuming, and she can kind of telepathically read his mind, something that we see in episode 2, as she's, like, force reading this guy's mind from episode 2. It's very similar to what Kylo Ren does to Poe Dameron in search of the map to Skywalker. Owen Lars is eventually able to play it down as Kenobi's watching it from afar, and all of these people around are also watching it. The fifth brother steps in eventually, says, "Hey, you're doing too much, you're doing the most, let's take a chill pill and let's go." I must mention once again, I was absolutely blown away by the voice effects that they did with the fifth brother, and the overall performance of him and everybody that worked on the show is absolutely phenomenal. But the Inquisitors, essentially, they specifically really blew me away, especially this first episode. They were amazing. We head back to Alderaan to witness some of the Princess type of activities here. She meets with her mother's sister's family, and she has it out for her cousin, which is pretty funny and cute at the same time. It definitely builds onto her character, not to be that person, but yeah, it's character development, learning a little bit about a younger Princess Leia, knowing her throughout the sequel trilogy as an older Princess Leia, and knowing her throughout the original trilogy as well, seeing her in even Star Wars Rebels show as a teenager, and now getting to experience this character as a younger version of herself as a little kid is so incredibly cool and special at the same time. Going from generation to generation as well is something very cool. We learn that she doesn't really feel like that she belongs here, that she doesn't want to do this with her life, she doesn't want to be a princess. As I mentioned, it's essentially princess types of stuff. It's a Disney princess, which is very cool. It's a very cool aspect to bring to the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars franchise. Something that you would think is generic, but is honestly kind of cool. Trouble's able to find her, however, and unfortunately, as she heads off into the woods to have, I guess, play, I don't know, whatever little kids like to do in the forest, I guess they play there. She gets kidnapped, unfortunately, in an effort from the Inquisitors to bring out Kenobi. And essentially what the grand scheme of things here is that Reva has it so out for Kenobi that she hires these bad guys, these bounty hunters, to pick up a young Princess Leia, because Reva knows that Kenobi is going to come out and try to rescue a young Princess Leia, essentially luring him into the trap of the Inquisitors. Something else that we also learned in the second episode is that Reva is doing this kind of solo and kind of by herself type of thing. She doesn't really want all that much help from the fifth brother or the Grand Inquisitor or any other type of Inquisitors out there. Bail Organa and Kenobi have this communication system essentially for emergencies is what I'm assuming. They're going to call each other if something bad happens to one of the twins essentially, or maybe if something bad happens to one of them type of thing. And in this case, the Bail Organa family here, of course, and also Leia's adopted mother, is in search for help from Kenobi to go and help young Princess Leia and to go rescue her. Now Kenobi, he says he can't do it, he won't do it because he's not that guy anymore. He's aged, of course, it's 10 years since Revenge of the Sith. He's not that same hero that we've known from the prequel trilogy and the prequel era. He's hidden his Force ability and his Force powers. He doesn't really have the same, I guess, he's rusty at it, essentially. Like, the way that Star Wars Theory likes to describe this is, imagine playing a sport all throughout maybe your high school career type of thing, and then just stop playing. You just stop playing after, and then like a good 5 years later, you go back to playing the sport, and you're going to be rusty. You're not going to be the best at it, and it's essentially the same thing in an effort to describe that what kind of Obi Wan Kenobi is struggling with using the Force. Same thing with his lightsaber, probably. Leia gets tied up and brought off world, as we learn, and as I had mentioned, the grand scheme of things here is this is all in an effort to draw out Kenobi for the Inquisitors. Also, this guy didn't make it all that far, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I've been calling him this guy the entirety of this video because I don't know his name. I forgot him. He was a cool character, but he's not relevant anymore because, well, he's unalived. You guys remember this light from earlier that I had mentioned, and when it's blue, it means that nobody's in there, and when it's red, it means somebody's in there, and well, it's essentially like a security system. And I have to be completely honest with you guys, when I first saw a hooded figure just standing there like this, I totally thought it was Mace Windu. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Mace Windu lives. I'm that guy, of course. But, of course, it's Bail Organa. This isn't a cameo show or anything like that. No hate towards the Book of Boba Fett. Bail Organa has gone for such extreme measures in an effort to get Kenobi to actually help him in an effort to rescue Princess Leia here, and he's also come all the way out here in person in an effort to plead. Leia has something going for her right here just for a minute, where she propped out her little Lola space droid, which is the cutest thing ever. My dog's named Lola, so there's a connection in there. She totally could have used Lola in an effort to, I guess, pin her signal where she is in her location to Kenobi or Bail Organa or the Royal Guards, whoever would be able to track her down type of thing. How unfortunately, that's not the case, and it gets smashed. Very unfortunate. We then, after that scene, find Obi Wan Kenobi out in the middle of the desert, and he's about to go ahead and dig around looking for a box. Inside of his box, we find something very special. I got absolute chills from this, and yes, it also reminded me quite a bit of the end of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, where Rey goes out to the middle of the desert in Tatooine and buries the lightsabers there as well. And in this case, it's Anakin's lightsaber and Obi-Wan's lightsaber together in a box, buried away. And this is kind of like a representation, I guess, burying away his past there for one thing, and burying away his past relationship with Anakin Skywalker. Now, mind you, at this point in time, Obi-Wan Kenobi thinks that Anakin's dead. He's gone. He's not alive anymore. He's not out there. However, he does learn something different in episode 2, and I'm going to save it for our episode 2 breakdown video. Anyway, to finish things off, it ends off very adventurous on a cliffhanger there. I'm glad that they do end this episode like this, and it gives room, of course, for episode 2 there, which they premiered back-to-back with that 2-episode premiere, which is very, very cool. Of course, I'm going to be covering our episode 2 breakdown here on the channel a little bit later here, maybe hopefully later on in the day, if not first thing in the morning tomorrow. Obi-Wan Kenobi ventures off the planet here of Tatooine. He's been here for the last 10-ish years watching over Luke Skywalker, so he hasn't been off the planet in a very, very long time. And I should also mention that this scene looks very, very cool, where he kind of unveils his lightsaber there just a little, but of course you gotta be careful. It's very cool that he went ahead, unburied those, and he's bringing them with him. And just like that there is the entirety of episode 1. Absolutely phenomenal. Left me speechless. Of course, I'm still soaking it in and taking it all in, of course, here, and we're going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi for like the next 5 weeks here on the channel, so make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss any of our upcoming videos here as well. There really isn't, to be completely honest and fair with you guys, a whole lot to break down. There's not a whole lot that you may or may have not really missed throughout the entirety of this episode. The whole purpose and idea of this episode and exactly what it did and what it did and it succeeded in it, of course, is setting up the overall ideal of the show, where we're at in the Star Wars timeline, who our characters are and all that, where the characters are mentally, where they are, I guess, physically in this point in time, of course, introducing all the characters and all that type of stuff. It seems that Leia will be playing quite a substantial role throughout the entirety and the rest of this overall series here, although I do also think that Luke Skywalker, a young Luke Skywalker at that, is going to have the light shown on him a little bit here as well throughout this series here as well. So many of us have been looking forward to this show for such a long time, and while it's finally here, and it's amazing. Let's all enjoy it together. Go hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already. Be notified when new videos come out. Guys, you know the drill. I want all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'd absolutely love to hear some of your highlighted favorite parts throughout this episode. Hey, maybe even go ahead and let me know what you guys think about episode 2 as well. Of course, I'm going to have that breakdown video for episode 2 coming out here very, very soon here. Of course, so it's all the more reason. Hit the subscribe button. Join us today. Hit the notification bell to be notified when those videos do come out. Let me know of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I would absolutely love to hear what you guys all think. Drop a like on the video if you enjoy it, as it is of the channel. And you guys from an official Star Wars and more Star Wars and the content, guys. Thanks so much for watching today's video. As always, may the Force be with you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.